Hi, today we're going to be talking about the nervous system briefly and its organization. Okay, so we have two sections of this. We have the central nervous system, which has the brain, right? Here we have bodily functions, perception, which we'll do, and cognition, which we'll do later in the year. Then we have the spinal cord, which relays information, and then a special case of reflexes, and that's where we're going to spend most of our time today. Right. If we then go to the peripheral nervous system, so we have the central nervous system and then the peripheral system. We have on this side here, again, some more divisions: the somatic or external body, the sensory, and the motor nervous system. And we've talked a little bit about that, but that's going to impact in terms of our naming the nerves, the afferent and the efferent nerves. We also have on the other side, and we've talked a lot more about this, we've got the autonomic nervous system, and we have really discussed the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system already. Now, let's look at a typical event, because we want to do this holistically. This is a picture of Escher, right? If you look at it, you see, it's really interesting. So what's really going on in our brain? Well, this is kind of a mini model of the process. We had our stimulus here our stimulus, right? We went through the receptors within the eye. Okay, it went to the afferent nerves, so those are the sensory or incoming nerves, right? We then had eye transduction. Now, transduction is a new term. You might want to put that on your learning log. We'll be talking more about it, but that's changing neural energy. So they're taking that picture, right, goes through the eye, and it changes it into neural energy. We have conduction, and conduction is essentially another one of those new subterms you might want to add to your learning log, which is really sending out the messages and how fast it sends out messages to the different parts of the brain. In the brain there, we have that integration. That's kind of what we did with the brain parts, right? The thalamus might send some information to the occipital lobe. It might send something to the frontal lobe if a decision needs to be made. From that, we then create a thought. Okay, that's just the incoming stuff. Now we got to go out. We have our conduction. Right? Then it goes to this thing called the interneurons, and those are the interconnecting between neurons that are doing the actual work. Efferent exit outgoing neurons. Okay, so from there, the information is getting sent, and you're going to scratch your chin, and your mouth is going to say, which way are they going? All right, so reflexes are slightly different. Okay, we have the stimulus. We go through the transduction here. I don't know where my marker is. Transduction here. Okay, we have the afferent incoming, which goes to the spinal cord, but it doesn't go to the brain. And then it has the conduction and the outgoing, and you step off the coals. Except for things like firewalking or other kinds of trance-like states. There seems to be something in there that blocks off what we would normally think of in terms of a reflex. Okay, this is slightly different from, and I remember that's the reflex. This is a conscious stimulus response, right? Here we have the eye incoming. Here we see this integration, right? We saw that in our event, going to the interneurons as it's outgoing. We have the motor output to the effector muscles, or to the muscles. So here we see a division: central nervous system. This is happening in the peripheral nervous system, and then it's going to the external body parts. All right, so different way of kind of looking at it. Let's look at it a little more internally. Here we go. This is similar, but again, we have the stimulus, the receptor, sensory neurons, and here we begin to see our first picture of the integration center, which has the interneurons. And here's our outgoing motor neurons, and E stands for exit. All right, and here we have some written material for those of you who like to take notes, because I'm going fast here. Okay. All right, this thing here is known as a reflex arc. And you'll notice that that's not on the term list, but I kept seeing the information all over the place. It kept talking about the arc, so we're spending a little more time with it. Okay, again, with a reflex arc, this gives you a slightly better picture here of the, here I'm going to go, here's the interneuron. So we can see our pictures of the neuron is coming through, sending the information. It needs to have a connector, right? And then we've got the outgoing or the efferent nerves. So here's a case study. Knee jerk response. Okay? What happens when you hit the knee? Okay? Yeah, it's going to bounce up. Okay, why? Well, see if you can draw yourself a reflex arc about what is going on. All right, so quick review here. All right, stimulus, receptor, neuron, sensory neuron, control center, whether that be the spine or the brain, right? Motor neuron, and back to the effector. Okay. All right, quick test. Name neuron 2 right here. Yes, sensory neuron. 3. Interneuron. 4. Motor neuron. And we're done.